Welcome to another episode of the Taptakeover podcast video series. We've got a special review for you today as we review our very first foodstuff, the Nutista Stone collaboration Nutbutter, as well as the Imperial Russian Stout, the Totalitarian by Stone Brewing. So, full disclosure, both the Totalitarian and the Nutbutter were sent to us by Stone for this review. However, the opinions are still ours. Also, we'll have a special treat provided by Andy, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
And we've got another special treat, Jim. We've got a very nice venue today. We're going to be here at 1840 Brewing in Milwaukee. And one of the nicest brewers that we've come across in our experience with the Taptakeover podcast, Kyle Vetter from 1840. Kyle,
Thanks
how are you
for
doing
having
today?
us, guys. Good. Glad to have you here. And it wasn't hard to say yes to trying out a new beer. So thanks for coming and bringing it to me.
Thanks for having us, Kyle. And the other special treat that Jim mentioned is the 2016 Stone Russian Imperial Stout. They stopped making it and actually changed the hops in it, and they added oatmeal, and that is what now became the Totalitarian that Stone had sent us. So what do you think, guys? You getting thirsty?
I think it's time to start pouring these, huh?
All right, so let's get into the tasting. First, let's start with the original that was brewed for the last 16 years, 2016 all the way back to 2000. This was their original Russian Imperial Stout before they named it. Now, this has been aged over 2 years. Still getting a nice boozy nose on it. Just over 10% ABV.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how much barrel is held up on this thing. There's
no
a
barrel.
lot of wood. No?
No, none of it's barrel aged.
Wow.
It's the perception, I think, in that the roasted malts lend the same flavors that a charred barrel would. And so that's kind of where you're picking up some of that charred characteristics. It tastes like some of the tannin from the oak.
Yeah, definitely some nice dark fruit in there. It's aged well. Andy, this was in your cellar for at least a couple of years now, right?
Sat downstairs for over 2 years, and like I say, the char is really good. It mimics that barrel quality, though I'm definitely interested to see what the oatmeal addition is going to do for the Totalitarian.
Yeah, there's a nice caramel flavor to this. I think that, just guessing based on brewing oatmeal stouts before, that the oats are going to kind of make it a little bit more creamy, where this is just real roasty and dark. It'll be interesting to see if it lends to like more vanilla notes.
Yeah, it also has a really good mouthfeel. I think it'll lend to the mouthfeel too.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I would expect a little bit more body. Touch thin from the alcohol on this, but hopefully those oats roll it out.
It's thin, but it's got a little bit of legs. A little bit of legs on the glass. I don't know. And it's being served at the right temperature, too. We're getting a nice room temperature beer, so it's opened up very nicely.
I mean, for something that they mass produce too, it's very well done. I mean, because this is on, I'd imagine, just a humongous scale.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get into the main event here.
Yeah,
That's
the
what we came
2018
here for.
version, the Totalitarian now. Well, right away I get a different nose. Definitely can taste.
It's hoppier smelling.
Yes, definitely a higher IBU on this.
Well, cheers, guys. Here's
Cheers.
Here's to Stone Brewing.
Thanks, Stone, for the free beer.
Yeah.
And you guys.
Definitely more rounded out.
soft.
Definitely, yeah, very soft. And
Yeah, that's what you were talking about with those oats, right? Yeah, it's coming in real nice mouthfeel.
Yeah, smooth and not as roasty in the taste, although, I mean, the color and the body is still all there.
What's the alcohol percentage on these? Is it?
it's about 10.5. Yeah, so
0.2 less on the Totalitarian, but
Okay.
I mean, that's not much.
Yeah.
Because the one that's 2 years old is definitely coming off boozier.
yeah, you can tell the oats have just added so much more body, rounded out the boozy flavor, which I like. I mean, for myself, a big stout that has that booze is kind of hard to really drink a lot of. This is far more approachable, and being as fresh as it is too.
Now, how do you think this is going to compare to that nut butter?
This will be interesting to try it out, see if there's the same roasted qualities in the nut butter, if it's got the kind of coffee and chocolate flavors that we're experiencing in the beer.
It'd be interesting too, because nut butters are often a little chunky, right? And
Yeah.
this has such a smooth
velvety.
flavor. It is velvety, and so it'd be interesting to see, if anything, as far as the body compares. Even though we're comparing nut butter to beer, I don't expect it to. But
There is a lot of barley in the nut butter, so I've never had a nut butter that had a lot of barley in it, so I'm very interested to see how that changes it.
So as a brewer, Kyle, do you think the different waters at their different breweries that they have, say like 2 in the U.S. and 1 in Germany,
Sure.
do you think they just build the base? They strip the water clean and build a fresh base every time, or would it be a different taste brewery to brewery?
I mean, at a brewery of this size, likely they're starting with RO water or some sort of dead water, which is basically just H2O, and they're going to treat it back up themselves to have that level of consistency. They're going to have less variation in municipal supply and things like that when you're starting with a water that's just basic and building up from there. So that's likely what they do. Hard to say. I've never been to Stone, and I've been to Stone, but haven't asked a lot of those hard questions. So I was sitting in the beautiful beer garden.
So to wrap this little beer tasting up before we get to the nut butter, final thoughts on the Totalitarian?
I like the changes that they made to it personally. It's more approachable stout while retaining the ABV. I like the little hoppier and the oats. It really rounds it out.
I'm actually going to go the other way. I prefer the 2016. I would have loved to have tried that fresh. Didn't have the opportunity. But the 2016 right now, 2 years after being aged, is coming off really, really nice. And I like my stouts a little bit aged. It's one of the things that we talk a lot about, and we kind of harp on the Taptakeover podcast, that some beers are meant to be aged and some are not. Some are meant to be drank fresh. This one, I think, was a perfect ageable beer. I'm not sure that the Totalitarian would be an ageable beer. I think it's perfect right now. It's got that soft mouthfeel, and I'm not sure I see that getting any better.
Yeah, I would agree there.
I like the hoppiness of the Totalitarian, and I think that's definitely going to fade, if you're sticking this in your cellar. So, but I love oatmeal stouts. I think the oats just crank it up a notch. If you're gonna have a big ass beer like this and not barrel age it, the oats give me the mouthfeel that I like. So it's kind of a toss up, especially because we got one with so much age on it. But I'm definitely gonna go with the new one. Nice work, Stone. I love oatmeal stouts. So.
I'll go with the Totalitarian as well. I thought it was a lot smoother, of course, than the older one. Which is odd because I expected the older one to be less hot and more smooth. Final verdict, would I drink this if I was out at a bar or restaurant and it was there? Yeah, I would. Would I seek it out? Probably not.
All right, so let's head into the nut butter. All right, let's go ahead and pop the top on this. All right, boys, let's go ahead and dig in.
Sure.
So we've got both apple slices and some spoons.
All right, I'm
Try
interested.
this out.
I'm going in
See
raw. I
what
want the full flavor.
It's coming in dark.
It is very dark for nut butter.
If we
But
were
it's got
describing
coffee
this,
and dark malts in it.
yeah, if we were describing this as a beer, it's got legs. It's very thick.
Yes, very thick, very heavy. Right away, I'm smelling both grain and coffee.
Lots of coffee.
Quite a bit of coffee.
This is a different thing.
What
I like
think it
almond
is?
butter a lot, but
But that's not almond butter.
It's I think there's a lot of bitter qualities to this because you're talking about cacao, you're talking about coffee, and then you're also talking about dark malt. So there's going to be a lot of bitterness associated with that.
Yeah, you're right. There's roasted barley in here. That's going to add quite a bit of astringency to it. Yeah, I don't know about this.
So Kyle actually put it right in the beer. So Kyle,
why not?
Try it.
It was a little too dry by itself. I'm not gonna lie. I should have gone the apple slice route. I think
did it make it better?
it made
Apple slice
the
makes it a
nut
little
better.
The the little sweetness with the apple definitely makes it a little better.
I think it's just really dry. It's like it's almost kind of like powdery tasting because all the ingredients you imagine are just blended up.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
like-
oils, natural oils, is what makes it liquidy. So I think it's just a little. It just tastes a little chunky, powdery to me.
It's like
Yeah.
coffee malted
Yeah.
milk balls.
Yeah.
I think powdery is the right description because there's a wetness to it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
It turns. It
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
strippy.
Yeah, it's drippy, but there's a powdery quality to it.
There,
Oh,
Apple helps. Beer helped too, but
I'm gonna have to try that.
I'm gonna say
I don't know if you should. If you're watching this at home, it wasn't that good.
Maybe some apple slices, maybe some pears.
Apple slices.
So as a final verdict for me, I'm gonna say yes on the totalitarian, not so much on the nut butter. Jim, how about you?
Yeah, I gotta say no on the nut butter as well. I mean, I really like the Totalitarian. It's a very well-made stout. I will not be buying the nut butter though.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna third that opinion. Nut butter was just a little too gritty, too much going on for me. But I did like the beer a lot better. I think they improved on the recipe, which is really, really cool to see after such a long-standing beer to just stop, think about it, reevaluate, and make changes is really, really neat to see. And kudos for that. But the nut butter is a stretch for me.
Yeah, the nut butter almost wasn't needed. I mean, it sort of feels like an add-on a little bit, but the beer was very solid.
So this is it for the Tap Takeover podcast and special guest Kyle Vetter here at 1840 Brewing. Check us out at taptakeoverpodcast.com.